former slot technician just revealed information that could save you thousands of dollars, and it's exactly what casinos don't want you knowing. For over a decade, this insider maintained and programmed the machines you walk past every day. And what he's sharing about 5 specific slots will change how you see that casino floor forever. Machine number 1, Wheel of Fortune. You've seen it. That massive machine positioned right near the casino entrance, the one with the giant wheel on top spinning whenever someone hits the bonus. There's a reason it's placed exactly where everyone walking in can see it. That prominent positioning isn't an accident. According to internal reports from former technicians, the quarter denomination version of Wheel of Fortune typically operates with an RTP between 84 and 88%. That means for every $100 you feed into that machine, you're losing between $12 and $16. Compare that to other slots on the same floor offering 96% RTP, and you start understanding the real cost of that familiar theme and those flashing lights. Here's what that looks like in practice. A woman named Patricia, a regular the technician recognized, sat at Wheel of Fortune for 6 straight hours. She went through $2,400 that session. Across those 6 hours, her total wins added up to $600. When she finally left, she told the technician she felt close, that the machine was due to hit that bonus wheel. She didn't know what the technician knew from the programming documentation. That bonus wheel appears approximately once every 250 to 300 spins. Even when it does land, most results deliver the smallest prizes on that wheel. The psychological programming behind Wheel of Fortune is particularly insidious. That physical wheel sitting on top of the machine creates constant visibility. When someone 3 rows over hits the bonus and that wheel starts spinning, everyone nearby stops and watches. The sound effects are programmed specifically for near-miss scenarios. Those moments when the wheel almost lands on a major prize but clicks one position past it. Players interpret these near misses as proof they're getting close, when the mathematics prove something entirely different. And if you think 88% RTP is bad, wait until you hear about machine number 2, because the next slot on this list drops even lower, and the employee testimony about machine number 4 is going to shock you. Machine number 2, Sex and the City. The licensing deal that brought Carrie Bradshaw and her cosmopolitans to the casino floor came with costs that players ultimately absorb through reduced odds. This branded slot appears in clusters throughout major casinos, multiple units positioned near each other, because casino management knows the brand recognition alone draws a specific demographic regardless of the mathematics underneath those flashing designer shoes and pink cocktails. Documentation from former employees indicates Sex and the City operates with an RTP between 85 and 87%. The quarter denomination sits at the bottom of that range at approximately 85%. Those licensing fees, HBO charges for using the show's intellectual property, don't come from casino profits. They come from your returns. The bonus features that play clips from the series and promise big relationship-themed wins trigger roughly once every 180 to 220 spins, according to internal data. Between those bonuses, the base game runs exceptionally tight. Former floor supervisors documented a case that illustrates this perfectly. A bachelorette party, 4 women who'd planned their Vegas trip around their shared love of the show, claimed machines next to each other for 4 straight hours. Their combined losses that night totaled $3,200. They kept playing because seeing Carrie and Samantha on screen created an emotional connection that overrode any awareness of deteriorating bankrolls. One technician who serviced these machines for 7 years reported witnessing this identical pattern repeatedly with every branded slot. Players pay what essentially amounts to an entertainment tax for the privilege of gambling alongside familiar characters and storylines. But here's where it gets even worse. Machine number 3, Buffalo Gold. This sequel to the wildly popular Buffalo machine populates every major casino floor, and players migrate to it assuming the odds mirror the original game they remember. They don't. According to insider data, Buffalo Gold runs between 86 and 88% RTP. Those gold buffalo symbols scattered across the reels create an illusion of premium value, but the mathematics tell a devastating story. The bonus feature triggers approximately once every 150 to 200 spins. That frequency seems almost reasonable until you examine what those bonuses actually pay. Most return between 10 and 20 times your bet. Consider what that means practically. You're spending $75 to $100 in minimum bets across those 150 spins to trigger a bonus. Then that bonus pays you $10 to $20. The math simply doesn't work in your favor, but the game design obscures this reality behind exciting animal sounds and stacked symbols. A case documented by a former floor supervisor haunts the industry veterans who share these stories. A player named Marcus spent 8 hours chasing what he called the super bonus. His total losses that session reached $4,800. He triggered the standard bonus 4 separate times. Those 4 bonuses combined returned $600. When a sympathetic technician tried explaining the mathematical reality, Marcus insisted he was due for the big one. He'd convinced himself the machine operated on some cosmic fairness principle rather than programmed algorithms. Wait until you hear about machine number 4, because what happened there made employees question whether they could ethically continue working in the industry. Machine number 4, Lightning Link. Walk through any casino in America right now and you'll find multiple variations of this format. Happy Lantern, Sahara Gold, Magic Pearl, high stakes. The hold and spin mechanic appears deceptively straightforward, and that simplicity masks mathematics that former technicians specifically highlighted when discussing machines they wished they could warn players about. The base game operates at approximately 86 to 87% RTP according to internal documentation. What makes Lightning Link particularly effective at separating players from their money is how that hold and spin feature triggers with seeming regularity, roughly once every 80 to 120 spins. That trigger frequency creates a devastating illusion. Players experience that satisfying moment when 6 orbs lock onto the screen and the hold and spin round begins multiple times per hour. They interpret this frequency as the machine being generous, as themselves having reasonable chances at those massive grand and major jackpots displayed prominently above the screen. The reality that programming documentation reveals tells a different story. Most hold and spin bonuses return between 8 and 15 times your bet. At $1 per spin, you're spending $80 to $100 to trigger a feature that pays you $8 to $15 back. Those grand and major jackpots that create the excitement appear at rates that would shock most players. The major jackpot triggers approximately once every 8,000 to 12,000 spins, according to internal specifications. The grand jackpot, that top prize everyone's chasing, hits roughly once every 50,000 spins or more. A technician named James worked casino floors for 10 years before leaving the industry entirely. He shares a story that ultimately motivated his departure. An elderly woman, recently widowed, began appearing at the Lightning Link machines daily. Through her player card data, James could see she was playing with life insurance money, an initial sum around $35,000. Over 3 days, he watched her cycle through session after session. She hit that hold and spin feature more than 40 times across those 3 days. Not once did she win more than 20 times her bet. By the end of day 3, she'd lost $28,000 of her $35,000. James reported feeling physically sick watching it happen. He approached his floor manager about posting clear odds information near these machines. His manager's response? It's completely legal, and people enjoy playing them. That response convinced James he needed to leave an industry that prioritized profit over any consideration of the human cost. The psychological programming behind Lightning Link deserves particular attention. That hold and spin mechanic creates a false sense of interaction and control. Players watch those orbs fill the screen, each new orb, resetting the spin counter, creating mounting anticipation that this specific bonus round might be the big one. Visual design teams spent years perfecting this formula. The outcome was predetermined the moment you press the button, but the presentation makes players believe they're building towards something, that their bonus round is developing in real time based on lucky breaks rather than algorithm execution. Before revealing the absolute worst machine on this list, I need to ask something. If this information is helping you understand what's really happening on casino floors, subscribe so you don't miss future insider information that could protect your bankroll. Let me know in the comments which of these machines you've played and whether you've noticed these patterns we're discussing. As someone who's spoken with dozens of former industry workers, I can tell you we're in this together, pulling back the curtain on practices casinos spend millions keeping obscure. Now, the final machine. This one is so predatory that multiple technicians independently mentioned it without prompting. And what you're about to hear represents where the entire industry is heading. Machine number 5, pinball. And now we've arrived at the worst machine on this list, the slot that former technicians independently cited without prompting when asked which games they'd remove from casino floors if given the authority. Pinball represents a newer generation of slots gaining prominence across major casinos, and its deceptively simple appearance conceals mathematics so unfavorable that one technician stated bluntly, "If you see this machine, turn around and walk away." The positioning of pinball as an industry trend toward increasingly predatory design makes it particularly concerning for anyone who gambles regularly. Internal documentation accessed by former employees shows pinball operating between 84 and 86% RTP, placing it among the lowest return rates on modern casino floors. What elevates this machine to the top of the worst list isn't just that baseline percentage, it's the multi-level bonus structure engineered to create complexity that obscures the mathematical reality. The base game runs extraordinarily tight between features. That primary bonus, the bumper feature that mimics classic pinball gameplay, triggers approximately once every 200 to 250 spins, according to programming specifications. When that bumper bonus finally hits, most outcomes deliver between 5 and 12 times your bet. The secondary bonus level, called multi-ball in direct reference to pinball terminology, appears roughly once every 600 to 800 spins. Even multi-ball typically returns only 20 to 50 times your initial wager. Consider those numbers practically. At $1 per spin, you're spending $200 to $250 reaching that bumper bonus, which then pays you $5 to $12 back. You're investing $600 to $800 across hours of play to trigger multi-ball, which returns $20 to $50. The grand jackpot, that top prize displayed prominently above the machine, hits approximately once every 75,000 to 100,000 spins based on internal programming data. To provide context for that number, 75,000 spins at 10 seconds per spin equals 208 hours of continuous play. A technician named Sarah worked casino floors for 8 years before transferring departments specifically because watching regular players lose on machines like pinball became emotionally exhausting. She shares the story of David, a regular who became obsessed with pinball shortly after the casino installed it. Through player card data Sarah could access, she tracked his activity over 6 months. David lost $47,000 on that single machine across that period. He triggered a multi-ball 8 times total. His largest single win across those 6 months was $890. He never came close to the grand jackpot, though he convinced himself the machine was due. David showed Sarah a notebook where he'd tracked every session, every bonus, every near miss, believing he'd identified patterns and randomness. Sarah eventually transferred to slot accounting because watching regulars like David methodically destroy their finances while believing they were getting close became unbearable. According to Sarah's former coworkers, David still plays that same pinball machine. The psychological manipulation embedded in pinball's design represents evolution in predatory programming. The pinball theme triggers nostalgic connections for players of a certain generation, creating emotional engagement before the first spin. Those multi-level bonus structures generate false complexity, encouraging players to believe understanding the game provides some advantage. The visual feedback system, those bumpers and lights and authentic pinball sound effects, mimics actual pinball machines closely enough that players unconsciously transfer feelings of skill and control from the real game to this predetermined algorithm. Multi-ball terminology borrowed directly from real pinball suggests multiple chances and compounding opportunities when the outcomes were calculated before the animation even began. These 5 machines represent the worst odds you'll encounter on casino floors, but understanding why they exist and how they're designed reveals something larger about an industry built on information asymmetry and psychological exploitation. These 5 machines share a pattern that becomes undeniable once former technicians reveal it. Wheel of Fortune running between 84 and 88% RTP. Sex and the City operating at 85 to 87%. Buffalo Gold programmed for 86 to 88%. Lightning Link holding at 86 to 87%. Pinball sitting at the bottom between 84 and 86%. Compare those numbers to slots offering 95 to 96% RTP that exist on these same casino floors, often positioned in less visible locations where foot traffic runs lighter. The difference between an 8 to 12% house edge and a 4 to 5% edge transforms into real money faster than most players realize. That gap means losing $12 to $16 per 100 wagered versus $4 to $5. Across an evening session, across a weekend trip, across the years that regular players accumulate, that mathematical difference compounds into tens of thousands of dollars transferred from player bankrolls to casino revenue. Former technicians describe deliberate floor positioning strategies that internal communications explicitly outline. These 5 machines appear in high-traffic zones without exception, near entrance doorways where newly arrived guests make their first impressions of the casino floor, along main walkways leading to restaurants and show venues where thousands of people pass hourly, in corner positions visible from multiple angles simultaneously, creating the impression of constant activity and excitement. The reasoning documented in floor. Manager communications reveals uncomfortable truths. Brand recognition drives the placement of Wheel of Fortune and Sex in the city. Excitement generation justifies Lightning Link and Buffalo Gold positioning. Visual appeal explains pinball's prominent real estate. Casino executives understand these machines attract players through familiarity, spectacle, and design, rather than favorable mathematics. Lower RTPs become justified internally through the concept of entertainment value, as though watching your money disappear faster somehow enhances the experience. Documentation obtained by former employees shows floor managers receiving quarterly bonuses when these specific machines exceed their hold percentage targets, creating direct financial incentives to maintain prominent positioning regardless of player outcomes. The industry's psychological design evolution disturbs veterans who watched it accelerate. Over decades, older three-reel mechanical slots operated with straightforward simplicity. Spin the reels, match the symbols, collect your payout, or insert another coin. The modern machines analyzed here represent perfected formulas emerging from millions of dollars in behavioral research and data analysis. Design philosophy revealed in technician training, materials uses phrases like frequent small wins, maintain engagement, and bonus anticipation extends, play sessions, and near-miss programming optimizes time on device. These 5 machines embody the successful implementation of those principles. Low RTP generating maximum profit, high engagement through multiple bonus levels, creating longer sessions, psychological hooks including licensed brands and nostalgic themes, and false complexity, keeping players anchored to seats. Former employees report internal celebrations when new psychological mechanisms test successfully in limited releases. Design teams study player behavior data extracted from thousands of machines across hundreds of properties. Software updates roll out based specifically on what keeps players gambling longest, not what provides fair value or entertainment. No consideration for player welfare appears in any design documentation these technicians accessed during their tenure. Everything described here operates within complete legality. Casinos maintain minimum RTP requirements that vary by state jurisdiction, usually between 75 and 85%. All 5 machines discussed meet those legal thresholds. No regulation requires displaying RTP information to players. No oversight governs psychological design elements or bonus trigger frequencies or near-miss programming ratios. The industry self-regulates on aspects that matter most to player outcomes, and profit motive predictably overrides ethical considerations when those interests conflict. Former technicians express consistent frustration that these machines wouldn't exist in their current form if players understood the actual mathematics before sitting down. Now you possess information casinos have spent decades and millions of dollars ensuring you never access. These 5 machines represent the worst odds available on casino floors, and that knowledge becomes your primary protection against mathematical exploitation. Former technicians who maintained and programmed these exact slots left their positions specifically to share what they learned, choosing transparency over continued participation in systems they came to view as fundamentally predatory. Share this information with anyone you know who gambles. Help them avoid these traps before they experience the same devastating losses that Patricia and Marcus and David and that widowed woman cycling through her life insurance money encountered. Former insiders offer consistent recommendations for anyone determined to gamble, despite understanding the house edge. Avoid these 5 machines specifically and completely. Seek out older 3-reel mechanical slots when available, as those games typically operate with better RTP percentages and lack the sophisticated psychological programming embedded in modern video slots. Video poker machines often provide 98 to 99% RTP with mathematically perfect play, making them substantially better options than anything discussed here. Ask casino hosts directly about RTP percentages for specific machines. They almost certainly won't provide the information, but their reactions and evasions tell you everything about why that data remains hidden. Establish strict loss limits before entering any casino and treat those limits as absolute boundaries rather than suggestions. Never chase losses on any machine regardless of how convinced you become that a win is due. The house maintains mathematical edge on every single game, and no amount of time invested or money lost changes that fundamental reality. Former employees emphasize this repeatedly. No machine runs hot or becomes due for a payout. Every spin exists as an independent event, Previous results exert zero influence on future outcomes, regardless of what your pattern recognition instincts insist. Recognize the warning signs that indicate poor odds according to technicians who configured thousands of machines across their careers. Licensed themes from television shows or movies signal that licensing costs are reducing your return. Multiple complex bonus levels exist primarily to obscure unfavorable mathematics behind false complexity. Prominent positioning near casino entrances or main walkways indicates machines profitable enough for management to feature prominently. Constant occupancy and busy player traffic around specific machines proves the casino wouldn't showcase them if they weren't highly profitable. Frequent small bonuses designed to extend playing time appear generous until you calculate actual return on investment. Progressive Jackpots advertising massive top prizes fund those displays through dramatically reduced base game RTP. When any machine exhibits 3 or more of these characteristics simultaneously, walking away becomes the only intelligent response. The industry trajectory concerns every former employee willing to discuss it publicly. New machines currently testing in select markets operate at even lower RTP ranges, between 82 and 84%. More sophisticated psychological programming incorporating actual skill-based elements creates elaborate illusions of control over predetermined outcomes. Social features allowing players to compare results with others exploit competitive instincts while sharing personal loss data across networks. Mobile integration extends gambling beyond casino floors into homes and workplaces and every moment of daily life. Multiple interviewed technicians abandoned the industry entirely due to ethical concerns about where these innovations lead and what they cost the people trapped in their mechanics. Subscribe for continuing insider information from former casino employees who chose transparency over profit participation. The next investigation reveals machines offering the best odds, the rare slots where mathematics shift slightly less unfavorably, and informed players might extract actual entertainment value. Comment below about which of these 5 machines has cost you money and share your story so others understand they're not alone in these experiences. The casino industry doesn't want these investigations to exist. Your subscription helps continue exposing practices built on information asymmetry and mathematical exploitation. Thank you for reading. Next time you walk past Wheel of Fortune positioned prominently at the casino entrance, or see Lightning Link machines clustered near the main floor, you'll understand exactly why they occupy that premium real estate and what that positioning costs everyone who stops to play.